U.S. women's soccer team files gender discrimination lawsuit. I'm going to circle gender. Now, Ms. Barrick knows that gender means a boy or a girl. Discrimination, I see this root dis, which we've seen before, like discontinue or discomfort. That seems like a negative thing. So discrimination lawsuit. So maybe people are being unfair to them because of their gender. That sounds like discrimination. The U.S. women's soccer team's leaders gathered after practice on March 3rd. They'd speak one last time with their lawyers about the bombshell they planned to drop at week's end. The tone was serious as stars such as Alex Morgan, Carly Lloyd, Megan Rapinoe, and teammates reviewed the stakes one more time. They acknowledged the burden and risk would be great, just 93 days from their opening match in the World Cup. I'm going to put a connection here because I enjoy watching the World Cup and cheering on the U.S. women specifically. That was largely the point. The news broke on March 8th, International Women's Day, that all 28 members of the squad had filed a class action gender discrimination lawsuit against their employer, the U.S. Soccer Federation. It was the timing, as much as the substance of their complaints, that shocked. Employer. I'm going to circle that word, but I do know that means a person. So a person who employs, an employee does a job. So maybe this is a person who is in charge of other people who do a job. That's what I'm thinking. So I'm going to ask a question. Why are the women mad at their boss or their employer? Turning the page. Rather than wait until after the World Cup, the defending champions chose the run-up to the tournament to speak out. They filed a 25-page legal suit, which says they're being treated unfairly because of gender. Un means not, so not fairly because of gender. It says they do essentially the same job as the U.S. men's national team. However, the suit states that they receive inferior wages, working conditions, and publicity from U.S. soccer. Inferior. I'm going to circle that word, but I think that sounds like a bad word because here they're saying that it's less than the men's team. I'm going to ask a question here. Why are men getting paid more? Because I see wages, which I know means money. So why are men getting paid more? That seems like a question I want to ask there. This isn't what champion athletes normally do, launch a public fight with their boss at the most critical stage of their athletic preparation. Usually, athletes focus on shutting out distractions rather than actively creating them. Increasingly, though, it's what female athletes do. They fight one battle on the field and another battle off of it to make their sport better and fairer. Maybe you have a connection if you've ever done something to make something more fair for someone. The double earn. Rapinoe, who is 33 years old and helped the U.S. women to the 2012 Olympic gold medal and 2015 World Cup championship, calls it the double earn. I have to do everything I have to do on the field. Then I have to do everything else to prove to you that that's enough, she says. Nonetheless, the months and years spent wrangling with U.S. soccer has given Rapinoe and her teammates a crash course in negotiating skills. Ooh, I see a lot of big words there. Wrangling, I'm going to circle. Negotiating skills, legal tactics, and marketing plans. In many ways, the women's soccer team's double earn mirrors the many roles and responsibilities women shoulder in life. They often must be employees and managers as well as mothers and caregivers. I'm going to put a connection there because my mom worked, she had a job, and took care of me. So I remember that sometimes she would be tired because she had to be a worker and she had to be a mom and caregiver. It's exhausting, Rapinoe said. Before Title IX, the 1972 law that prohibits discrimination based on sex in all government-funded education programs, so I'm going to circle Title IX, but here it tells us exactly what it is. It's a law that prohibits discrimination. So I remember prohibits means not allowing. So that's a negative word. That won't allow discrimination. So it won't allow people to be mean based on sex. And when we say sex here, we mean being a boy or a girl. And in their near half century since the law, it has rarely been enough for female athletes to play their best. Many have also had to demand the right to play and campaign for decent equipment and quality coaching. Some have had to push back against physical, sexual, or emotional abuse while competing. Williams insisted on equal pay. Billie Jean King was the pioneer. She was threatened with being excluded from tennis events by the all-male tennis leadership for launching a women's league in the 1970s. There was a direct line from King to Venus Williams, who fought for equal pay. Williams convinced Wimbledon, the sport's most popular tournament, to pay its male and female champions the same in 2007. There is a direct line in turn to the women's soccer team's decade-long fight for better pay and working conditions. I'm going to put a connection here because I seen Venus Williams and her sister play tennis on TV. You might remember that Serena Williams a little while ago wore a kind of like catsuit looking outfit to her tennis game, which was a cool thing. The line extends to 200 female hockey players. On May 2nd, they refused to play in any North American League games until teams provide fair wages. It's not a popularity contest, it's about doing the right thing, King said by email. You have to have a vision and you have to understand that the role of your generation is to be the pioneer. In the end, you're not just trying to make the world a better place for your sport. I'm going to circle this word pioneer. I'm going to circle that word pioneer. It seems like it's a word that means like they're going to help people later, because the role of your generation, of this group of people, may be to help other people in the future. All right. Kendall Coyne Schofield is a member of the United States 2018 Olympic gold medal winning ice hockey team. She said her team and the Canadian hockey team also drew inspiration from King and received advice from the U.S. women's soccer team. They gave us hope that we can do this too, Coyne Schofield said, who is 27 years old. She led the team's 2017 stand against USA Hockey. After threatening to skip that year's World Championship unless salaries and support improved, the women won better conditions, the world title, and Olympic gold. Team just wants to be treated fairly. There has to come a time when women's sports is not an afterthought, Coyne Schofield said. When are we done being pioneers? Ooh, there's that word again. The U.S. women's national soccer team was founded in 1985. Since then, its goal was to make the sport better for the next generation. The team begins its defense of the Women's World Cup on June 7th in France. Meanwhile, the team's decade-long campaign to be treated by U.S. soccer continues. The lawsuit filed in March outlines their case against ongoing institutionalized gender discrimination. Wow, that's a lot of words. It starts with pay but extends to training, travel, marketing, and promotion, medical and support staff. Under the Equal Pay Act and Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, it seeks corrective action, as well as money paid for past damages. Corrective action. That looks like correct. So making something right. A women's player earns a base of $3,600 per game, while a men's player earns $5,000. Using an example of 20 games where each U.S. team went undefeated, a women's base salary is already about $30,000 less than her male counterpart. I'm going to put, how did they decide it first? Because my question is, why would this have even started? So how did they decide to pay women less? So not just why are they doing it, but how did they make this decision? Male players earn far more. Then, the maximum bonus for a female player is $1,350 per game. Meanwhile, male players can earn a maximum bonus of $12,625 per game, depending on their opponent's level, and the average bonus is $8,166. Therefore, on average, the men would each earn $263,320 apiece. The women, by contrast, would earn $99,000. That's about 38% of the men's income. I'm going to react to this by putting a frowny face because that does not seem fair. The differences in pay start when the team is decided. Men earned $55,000 for making the U.S. World Cup team in 2014. Women earned $15,000 for making the U.S. World Cup team in 2015. Nina Chaudhry is a lawyer with the Washington-based National Women's Law Center. She believes that players have a strong legal case. In addition to pay, their complaints include inferior playing fields, lack of private flights, insufficient promotion, and publicity compared with their male counterparts. A victory on the field would deliver the U.S. Women's 4th World Championship. A victory in court would deliver something more weighty. Ooh, weighty. Maybe weight is like heavy, so something more heavy, something more important. A new era, or the start of a new era at least, in which the country's best female soccer players have only one job. I'm going to make a connection here and say, I would like a bonus. So maybe that's something that you, when you're working your job, would like. That's my connection. All right, that's it for today.